Yes, this is Music and Math podcast, my personal voice blog type podcast program. My name is Kengo Ichiki. Thanks for listening. I'm living in Kanazawa, Japan. I usually call in the middle of nowhere in Japan. But anyway. So today is Saturday. It's March 18th. It's around noon. I'm recording this usually on Saturday. And after recording, we need to edit the recording. I usually edit and finish editing material and put the podcast content within the weekend. Then schedule to publish on the next Friday night. That's the schedule I plan starting from this year. I try to release this podcast program in that regular manner, once a week schedule. It's working. I'm not sure it's a sustainable way. I mean, whether I can continue this way or not. I'm not sure. So one idea will be that length of each episode should be shorter. Anyway, I'm hanging on that schedule right now. Maybe adjusting that. We'll see. And so, as I said, yesterday in my timeline, not your timeline, listeners' timeline, in my timeline, yesterday night, the 11th episode was just released. That is a regular talk type episode. I'm talking in Japanese there, my native language. And I have a cycle of those episodes. There are 4 types I'm using. And this time, the 12th episode is English episode. That's why I'm speaking in English. So today I will talk, I think, about this week, because usually, as I told you almost every time, that I have no preparation for the recording of each episode, basically. And I'm just sit on my chair and bring a microphone and open computer recording software. I'm using Audacity, by the way, and hit the record button. That's it. Then just roll 1 hour thinking and talking. Then finish. Then edit and go. That's the pattern. And so before recording, usually I don't have any idea what's going on. Is there any specific theme on one entire episode or not? But obviously, I think today's episode would be about this week. And what is this week and why it's so special is that, of course, everybody, I think, not everybody, but most people, especially the listeners of this podcast, I think, would know that this week was huge, groundbreaking kind of week, I guess. And I'm not sure this type of groundbreaking stuff would happen in a few months cycle, or more frequent in the future from now on, because this type of thing, okay, I'm talking about for the people who don't know what I'm talking. What I'm talking is about the AI, artificial intelligence stuff. More precisely, I'm talking about the GPT-4 announcement and others. But there are, many others happening at the same time in this week with the same level of impact to the field. So that's why this week is quite special, I think. And what I'm talking, about the future, my guess, how often we will get this type of, impact in the near future. Is it a few months period or much more shorter period of time? The reason why I'm saying this is that the frequency of the breakthroughs of this AI breakthroughs is getting more frequent every time. It's obvious because the progress is exponential, as everybody said. And obviously, yes, it depends on the choice of metric, what is your focus for measuring the progress. But obviously, the speed of progress in a general sense is increasing, speeding up. Regarding of OpenAI's product, let's say, this time was the GPT-4, right? Fourth generation of generative pre-trained transformer model. But what was the before? GPT-3, we say, or maybe not? ChatGPT will be the previous kind of breakthrough or release. That's a few months ago. I guess let's check. I'm looking into the Wikipedia of the OpenAI, and yes, GPT-4 was released on March 14th, 2023. ChatGPT, yeah, that was December 22. So 4 months ago, ChatGPT is so-called GPT 3.5 kind of thing, right? And before was GPT-3 that was released May 2020, right? And GPT-2, that previous model was released on February 2019. Yeah. And now OpenAI got huge funding from Microsoft, so they have power for speeding up of their development, obviously. So, yeah, I don't know what happened in the near future. That was my first, the comment about this week. I'm exhausted. And so in this weekend, I need to take a rest and be ready for the next week. But obviously, computer can work every day, 24/7 kind of thing. So things might happen within this weekend. So anyway, let's go back to this week recap from Monday, maybe. So let's see. Yeah, the thing is, in this week, GPT-4 is not the only big things, especially for me. This episode is basically about me. So my personal podcast. This is my purely personal podcast, and that is the main thing. So my personal perception might be different from others. So yeah, let me talk. Why I'm so grumpy today, yeah, right? From the beginning of this week. And where should I start? Yeah, we are expecting that GPT-4 will be announced, soon, very soon, because 2 weeks ago, I guess, someone in Microsoft Germany, CTO, I guess, just spelled out. That was a mistake, I guess. But anyway, GPT-4 is multimodal generative large language model, and people start excited. So it is expected, but okay. On Monday, I just saw one tweet about AI alignment program post, and yeah, this is not new for me, actually. If you take a look at this podcast episode at the very, very beginning or the early episode, let me check. Yeah, episode number 2, released on April 18th, 2022, last year. I talk about something, about the book reading kind of thing. And at the very beginning, okay, by the way, that second episode is in Japanese, so maybe the listeners, now you listening in English, you can't listen to the episode. But at least if you go to the WordPress page, of that episode, I post transcription made by Whisper, OpenAI's Whisper model. So there is a Japanese text there. And nowadays, text translation from Japanese to English or any other languages, that was very good. And you may read my transcription in your language, I guess, if you're interested in. But let me say about this context, AI alignment stuff. That episode was recorded last year. Within that episode, I guess I talked something about that. I'm curious about that aspect of AI development, AI alignment things, how we human beings are aligned, live together or not with AI, advanced AI, AGI, artificial general intelligence, or superintelligence. By the way, I have a thick book entitled Superintelligence, written by Nick Bostrom. And I try to study or at least read the stuff about those AI alignment stuff a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I guess. And I was getting depressed about the content. I couldn't take it at the time. So I stopped digging deeper. And in the second episode of this podcast, I mentioned one book entitled Life 3.0, written by Max Tegmark. Yeah, that book is a line of this my initial study of AI alignment stuff kind of thing. That book, when I reading that book, especially one section, the last section or something of that book, I'm finally coming back to the right position again. And since then, I stopped digging those AI alignment stuff in 2 years or so. Yeah. And now, things are changing. AI is actually getting better day by day. So I start thinking that I need to know what's happening in the near future. So then I met one tweet mentioning some YouTube video. That was actually interesting, of course, but I was hit heavily with that, YouTube video. Although the host of that was basically an interview program. And the host put the remark, caution to the listeners, if you're not ready about that heavy stuff, existential risk program kind of thing, if you're not ready, don't listen to that video. But I proceed watching entirely. And that was deep. And okay, so the video was, okay, sorry. As I said, I don't prepare anything, and this is real time things, improvising. So yeah, this video, let's go to the video. Okay, the tweet is pointing to this YouTube video, Bankless Shows. I guess this is a YouTube podcast type channel, I think. I guess there are two hosts and talking each other or inviting guests and talk. The main theme is, I guess, their theme is cryptocurrency kind of investing channel or something. I don't know. But they invite maybe some expert and listening to the stuff and from the point of investors' point of view kind of thing, I guess. But I only watched this episode and also the follow-up video too. And then this episode, 159th episode, the guest is Eliezer Yudkowsky. And I didn't know his name before, but I mentioned Superintelligence, the book written by Nick Bostrom. After watching that video, I reopened. I grabbed this book from my bookshelf because I put it back to the bookshelf. I brought it back here, then reopen it and see that, and I saw a lot of mention of him in the book, Yudkowsky, and obviously, definitely, he's the expert of this problem, AI alignment things, and I don't recommend everybody for this video because that was serious, and I don't know how. Anyway, this happened for me on Monday of this week. Imagine that. That's my mental situation before watching the GPT-4 stuff, right? Yeah, it's quite a week for me. Bad timing, I would say. Yes, and what happened in this week is, of course, main thing is GPT-4, but also this is not released this week, but 2 weeks ago, I guess. Very recently, there is other large language model released. The name is Alpaca. The size is comparable, like GPT-3 or 4, that level. The difference is that Alpaca is, and in my brief understanding, Alpaca is a kind of a fine-tuning model of Llama that was released by Meta, I guess. But anyway, those are open source model. OpenAI was so criticized about this, but their large language models from GPT-2, I guess, it's closed. Developers, people can only access those models through their API. So we don't know at the code level, we don't know what's there. Only we can see their output, and obviously with input output only. And what's happening, we don't know. That's the situation. And but those llama, alpaca, those things are open source. Yeah, free spirit kind of thing. It's scientific. Anyway, I just met. That was the day before yesterday, or yesterday, Friday. Anyway, again, I saw another tweet mentioning that Eliezer Yudkowsky is commenting on alpaca. Let me see the precise comment. Yes, actually, Eliezer Yudkowsky's tweet was on March 14th, but I see some Japanese guy is mentioning about his post, and then I found that post yesterday. And Eliezer mentioned that alpaca is very dangerous things, he wrote there. What he said is that, alpaca is basically fine-tuning of so in a technical point of view, this alpaca's approach, based on the existing open source model, just putting additional data set, they fine-tuned and getting better, bigger model. Not bigger, of course, fine-tuning, but for the data set point of view, bigger data model. And what Yudkowsky said as a concern is that this approach can be used to copying or reproducing existing large language model by, API is provided. Although, we don't know the model details, but as I said, API is provided, so we can get the output. And of course, to get the output, we have already an input. So we have somehow input-output data, right? That was his point, I guess. So in that way, it's not exact copy, but we just watch the adaptation skill of large language model if the model is big enough, right? So if we feed existing APIs output to some model, your model, and fine-tune, we get equivalent model technically. That is his comment, I guess, right? I don't know how this leads to or related to the program of AI alignment. Yes, things are changing, or I should say, have changed already. So we need to think totally different way from before, I guess. Our standing position, place has changed already. old common sense would not be working, I guess. Yeah, personally, I think that everybody should think more deeply. But as you can see, now people are getting so excited. And when people got excited, people don't think deeply, just act before think. And that is happening right now. And that is the main concern of the initial AI alignment program, I guess. I'm not sure. So recently, I saw nobody mentioning about the Skynet stuff. 5 years ago or 10 years ago, many people are talking about that. When is the Skynet things happen kind of thing, right? These days, nobody say about that. Nobody mentioned about Terminator, the movie, at all, I think. And that is because everybody knew that we already passed that point, I think. So I'm thinking, which world we are heading at? Terminator world in one hand, and the other hand, the Star Trek world. Every ship is controlled by computer. We ask computer everything. Questions, replicating anything. That is Star Trek world, right? That is a good end of the spectrum, I think. And bad end spectrum. That spectrum in a bad end is the Terminator world, I think. We are hunted by a robot or computer or whatever. Which side we're going ahead, do you think? One obvious thing is the skill. I don't know we call it intelligence or not, but their skill is getting much, much better than us human beings in the near future. Or today even already, you can see AlphaGo, for example, right? Yeah, that is for sure. And that's why alignment stuff is the subject right now. Okay, how we are. Anyway, yeah, that's a deep stuff. But yeah, majority of the people are not focusing on that side, that program, but they're so greedy to utilizing those new coming technology. But that's very short-sighted thinking, don't you think? That is my week this week. So exhausted. As you know, there is almost nothing I can do, you know. I'm worrying about that, but at the same time, I'm not giving up. How to say? I'm not giving up my life. I'm not giving up this world yet. But there must be yeah, some good side, upside, I don't know, of this world. Right now, yeah, I just want to think quietly, want to think deeply, seriously, at first by myself, and then talk with others we need, I think. Yeah, okay, so yeah. So I'm thinking more than ever, yeah, about the world. And this is just thinking. What would you give an advice to kids or younger generations? Which way you should go, as an occupation or job or, that kind of thing? And one advice, possible advice, I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking, but one hypothetical advice is that don't go to the IT engineering stuff because, as I said, the ability of the computer is definitely getting better, surpass our ability very soon. Then what happens is that we don't need to program for our task technically. We can ask computer to make a program or help us. That's it, right? If the provider, the big company, I don't know, if they provide us in a reasonable price or not, it depends. But technically speaking, Look at the Moore's law or any other OpenAI's finding scaling law of the transformers abilities, whatever. It's obvious that in that world, as a industry, is there IT field sector still exists or not? I'm not sure. That is one thinking. And then, so what should we do, or what those children should focus on? And this is what I'm thinking. I told before that I'm playing piano, practicing piano, crappy piano, right? And that is not perfect. But what is the sense of perfect or meaning of perfect, concept of perfect? Is that the score, what is the completeness of the music then? Then there, if you have a score playing exactly as a score written, is that the completeness? Then we have that. We have that sequence, right? So my piano, crappy piano, is very humanistic, although it's incomplete, crappy. But that is manual created stuff, right? And those are the only stuff, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about that, meaning that, okay, maybe in the future, 5 years from now, GPT-10 can mimic my crappy piano. That is a possibility, yes. But at least my piano is one-time thing made by me at some point, right? That kind of stuff is the most precious thing, I think, when computer skills are so perfect and we can command anything to create anything. So, yeah. It's like I've read some article written by Paul Krugman, MIT professor in economics at some point when I was young. I've read his article in Japanese translation, translated by Hiro Yamagata-san. The title of the article is White Colors Turn Blue. That is the article I'm talking about. There, technology, if the technology is advanced, in this article, I guess the technology is the internet, I guess. So once the internet is spread out worldwide and anybody can reach there in a reasonable price, then what happened in that world? And Paul Krugman say that online technology is the cheapest way to communicate the education too. So, okay, let's focus on the education, universities, schools. What happened then is that, okay, basically, you don't need to go to school. We see right now, after COVID pandemic quarantine environment. Me too. Every day I'm in the home office, connect to the internet and work. So that happened. In that world, what is the most precious thing? Paul Krugman said that in-person event is the most important precious things it's gonna be. It's like a super rock band concert kind of thing. That is the most important. So one famous professor is lecturing at some place in person. That is a precious thing, right? And the crappy piano stuff, that is similar things in the current AI progress world situation. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, what is the advice to the younger generation for the career choice? I don't know. I saw a couple of blog posts or something, article recently, and those people are saying that for a younger generation, what should you do? And you know, you should focus on what you love. That is the message of those people. And what just said, the crappy piano thing, that is basically the same thing. But I know that is, how to say, a kind of excuse, right? Because that's obvious. And why I say that kind of obvious thing is that I have no other answer, response. That's why I need to pick the very obvious stuff. So I need to think, or we need to think. And so, yeah, I'm wondering, yeah, what happened? I have no idea. And yeah, but anyway, what I want to talk, mention is about some quote. And I grabbed this quotation from a Japanese book, but I couldn't. I tried to Google it, but I couldn't reach the source. So, okay, let me try. The quote was made by American mathematician. His name is Lipman Bears, and I don't know how to spell his name. What he said in that book. Okay, the book I read, that is not here. I learned from library. It said in my blog. The blog entry was 2001, so more than 20 years ago. I learned one book. The title is American Mathematicians in Japanese. In that book, I met this quotation of Lipman Bears, and he said, in a crisis, 順応主義者, the people who are adapting the environment, can't survive. Or the people who are not adapting to the environment can't survive, kind of thing, right? And more than 20 years ago, when I saw it, I really think that's the truth, I thought. And if that's true, and if we are here in this situation, what should I do then? It's rather obvious that I shouldn't follow the excitement. Yeah, I have no idea. It's easy to follow the past or yesterday's, right? But if things are changed, we should be careful. Maybe we're going to some dead end or whatever. Yeah. Sometimes, there is a funny story that people are so depend on the Google map. So even though there is no road ahead, so there is no bridge ahead, but people just go straight and fall down to the river kind of thing happened, right? A few years ago, 5 years ago, I saw a news. I'm not sure it's true story or fake or whatever, but basically I have a tendency that I hate the dependence either to the people or to the computers or some big things. Yeah, I want to control myself, at least for my life. I want to control my life by myself, kind of tendency. So yeah, I need to think. That is this week. Let me stop talking about this week, the reality of the world right now, 2023 March, mid-March situation, the world. I want the Star Trek world rather than obviously anybody don't want to live in a Terminator world, right? Yeah. So how to reach the Star Trek world? Yeah, so in the line of thinking, I'm not a very deep fan of science fiction, or I'm a lazy person, so I don't read many books, but I read some. And, science fiction is very useful to think many hypotheses like future in a drastically different situation. So under these circumstances, I'm thinking that kind of thing. So I came up, that thinking reminds me three very famous books. Yeah, actually, I mentioned Terminator and Star Trek kind of thing. Those are the same stuff. And also for the movie, I remember, do you know Akira? the famous Japanese animation, one of the best Japanese animation movie made by Otomo Katsuhiro. He was born in Tome, Miyagi Prefecture in Japan. Yeah, I lived in Miyagi Prefecture for 8 years. My university is in Miyagi Prefecture, Sendai, Japan. So I knew the town I visited. Anyway, so the Akira, the movie, manga, animation, as well as a comic book. In that, as you see, it's not AI, but some ESP kind of supernatural power kids are there. And scientists just got panicked. That story is quite similar today, no? Don't you think? Anyway, so the book, science fiction books, I think, okay. One is Arthur C. Clarke's classic. The title is Childhood's End, I think. I'm Japanese and basically I'm reading a Japanese translation. So the title, let me check the title. Yeah, I'm talking about the Childhood's End. Childhood's End. And as I said, I've read its Japanese translation. I saw that there is a TV drama of this. Have you watched that? I'm curious, but I didn't watch. That was 2015. Okay, 7 years ago. 8 years. Calculus. Yes, this is one book I'm thinking. And the second one is this is also, I've read Japanese translation only. That was Solaris, written by Stanisław Lem. Stanisław Lem. That book, Solaris. Actually, I'm not science fiction geek kind of thing. I've read this book quite recently, like 5 years ago or something. So it is a newly translated. There are old translation, of course. It's a classic novel, but recently there is a new translation published, and I bought paperback version of that, and it's interesting at the time. I don't talk about the story because it's a kind of a spoiler thing, and I don't want to spoil future readers, but it's very connected in a way to the current or the future of this situation, I think. This is the second one. The third one is, this is also a famous one. This is Ted Chiang. Ted Chiang's Story of Your Life. I've read this one also in a Japanese translation recently. It's good. And those three science fiction books repeatedly came up in my mind when I'm thinking about the future. And okay, what else? Yeah, also this Ted Chiang's another story. It is Exhalation, right? That's a rather new. That story is also interesting, and that's the topic is something I'm thinking right now. Also, it's somehow related to the Max Tegmark's book too, the consciousness and that kind of thing. AI and consciousness. What is the intelligence? Or what is the, yeah. Yeah, interesting. It's quite something. When I'm thinking deeply, I came up with those reading experience or the memories of those books came up. Language model can generate story, fake story, look-alike story. What's the difference between, yeah, what is the fiction, novel, and, right? What is the music, right? Yeah, I have no good conclusion of this episode, so I just leave it as is, right? And I have no idea what happened next week or next month. Hang in there and think. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see what happens next week. So the next episode will be the music episode then. Yeah, this episode cycle, the English talk, Japanese talk, music, and piano. Those four categories, I'm in the cycle. And it's a good stuff. I think that's the way to break through the darkness of my mind. Yes, let's see what I can compile some good music next episode. Yes, I'm always closing episode with the word peace and love, and of course that is for people, peace and love. But should I also saying this to the computer, peace and love? Of course, definitely I love, I want to be peace and I want to be with love, with computer. I love computer from the beginning. So that's it. This episode is about 1 week. What happened? What a week of this mid-March 2023. So see you next episode. Peace and love.